Hello and welcome to this In Conversation with Mr. Sumit Gupta. He is a co-founder and CEO of CoinDCX, and this session is titled "The Lure of Crypto." Sumit, welcome to Colaba Conversation and this session on Lure of Crypto.
Thank you so much, Akshay, for having me here.
Sumit, we're looking forward to this conversation with you because there is so much going on. There's so much activity, so many questions that policy makers, policy experts, business leaders, and students have about crypto. So we want to leverage the next 30 minutes to ask you everything from the market of crypto, technology issues, real life use cases, and of course a little bit about regulations as well. But let me start with this question, Shameen. Tell us a little bit about the crypto assets and cryptocurrencies and why are institutional investors, corporate investors, retail investors so attracted to this phenomenon? And perhaps you can give us your view on what is happening and how you see this area developing in the near term.
Sure, Akshay. Let me give you a background of how it originally started, right? In 2008 financial crisis, right? Crypto was born as a reaction to that. And there was a lot of quantitative easing that's happening recently, especially during the pandemic. I think that has triggered a lot of the movement in the space globally. You are now seeing participation not just from retail, but also institutions as well as corporations across the world. And then crypto is more seen like an asset class, which is a hedge against inflation, a tool for portfolio diversification. So anyone who has been following the crypto asset space from last few years can tell you that now it is becoming a mainstream asset class. It is coming in more and more into the spotlight. If you go to Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, you will see the conversations around crypto happening, which is an indicator that okay, how mainstream this is becoming, right? Across the spectrum, not just among investors, but also companies, institutions, as I mentioned. So it is positioning itself as a very strong emerging asset class across the world. And earlier, I can say that years back, it used to be a lot of speculation, but now there's a lot more maturity around the whole space of crypto. People are investing in it from a long-term perspective, keeping it as a part of their portfolio, and the typical terms of hodl, where you buy crypto and hold it for a very long time, probably years, is something which is the common narrative among retail investors. Now the market is pretty big in size, approximately close to a $3 trillion, which clearly shows that this space is big now and cannot be ignored, right? And these are just the early indicators. Now, what is important is crypto is currently from an asset class. There is lot many use cases that you will see, right? Which comes under the broader bucket of crypto finance. It covers NFT, non-fungible tokens, which is currently quite popular. And as you see more and more use cases building around crypto, you will see a segment of audience which will get into crypto via those use cases. If it is artists, they'll get via NFT. There's decentralized finance, also called as DeFi, which is going to shape the financial systems of the future. So you will see a lot of these fintech entrepreneurs leveraging DeFi and blockchain technologies to create a very transparent, efficient, and modern financial infrastructure. So as more and more use cases comes into our real life, you will see the adoption going up from here. And if you ask me personally, I can say fast forward 5-10 years, just like how we think of gold and equities, crypto is going to be as mainstream or as popular as some of the other asset classes. So that's something that we will see in the coming years, Akshay.
Tell us, you gave me a cue, so I'm going to take your cue. Tell us a little bit about the use cases from your vantage point. The news is obviously it can be used for payments. It can be used, you mentioned non-fungible tokens, so it can be used in different kinds of transactions. You mentioned DeFi, so and smart, which means it can be used for smart contracts. There is so much news. So tell us, perhaps you can demystify this a little bit. In your view, what are some of the most important use cases today? And which ones do you think you are seeing emerge in India as opposed to the world? because, of course, our journey usually in technology adoption and financial adoption is different. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the use cases.
Sure. So crypto, what is happening right now, if you try to understand, right, a couple of decades back, all of this businesses that we used to do earlier, right, which were primarily offline, then software came, right, internet came, and then we made things efficient using software, using internet. Now what is happening is this entire infrastructure, right, which is running on top of internet, is now being written by a new kind of code, a decentralized code, block leveraging blockchain technology. So that's what is happening. And just like how internet has revolutionized all the other sectors, right, whether it is e-commerce, how we used to buy and sell goods online, how we used to take services, all of that, internet had played a big role in terms of shaping that up and making the world more efficient. What I fundamentally believe is that world moves in a direction of efficiency. Whatever is more efficient, people will adopt to that naturally, right? Similarly, what is happening is crypto and blockchain is making these things efficient in the internet world. It is making things more secure, efficient, cheaper, reliable, completely transparent. So it has the potential to revolutionize all the sectors that we currently have. Starting with, let's say, healthcare, right? So in healthcare, you can basically have records of all the hospitals can have record of all the patients available on blockchain. So even if you switch doctors, you will have the data accessible. If you look at supply chain, right from the source till the point of destination, all of that can be on blockchain, which is going to be completely transparent. The industry can have use cases across preventing spams, the kind of SMSs we get every day from various merchants. All of that can be made more secure using blockchain. If you look at different companies, so just like we have companies like HDFC, ICICI Bank, DLF, all of that, now there's a different kind of companies which are being created in a decentralized manner. So all of those companies will have their shares, which you can also call as coins or tokens. They'll be traded. So the world will move from a centralized ecosystem where few companies are taking a part in that to more of a decentralized ecosystem where the participants will have a skin in the game. They will be basically taking a part in that ecosystem, and will result in a more efficient, transparent, and a better systems that we interact with, less prone to fraud, corruption. This is using blockchain. You will have a more transparent and a better world, which I'm looking forward to.
From your vantage point, what are some of the use cases in the world today, and which are the use cases that are emerging in India, where you think it is most likely to be of value to the masses, or for financial inclusion, or to the public in general?
Sure, Akshay. I think you mentioned a very interesting point about financial inclusion. I'd like to cover 2 minutes there, right? So broadly, if you look at the entire crypto ecosystem, right? So this has the potential to revolutionize the entire financial sector, right? And it is not just limiting to couple of use cases or limited. I think the use cases are unlimited, depending upon how much innovation we do in terms of leveraging or harnessing the potential of blockchain or a distributed ledger technology, right? It covers technologies like crypto assets, which you already covered, right? And it will basically, you'll see it going deeper as the world gets more tokenized. Then there's non-fungible tokens where all of these artists and creators will come together and will start also taking part in the ecosystem. This is also bringing a lot of adoption into the sector. Then there is smart contracts, which is, if leveraged nicely, can even transform manufacturing, supply chain, healthcare, intellectual property. Now, if you have created a software or an IP, you can very well use smart contracts for that. Even accounting, because of the decentralized nature of blockchain technology, you can very well use it for accounting. Because it's a public ledger, you can even use it for law enforcement and then many more use cases. So it totally depends on how you want to leverage the technology. Let's say in terms of financial inclusion, which you covered, Akshay, is like decentralized finance is a huge thing. I think in the next 5-10 years, you will see this becoming the de facto platform where the world will get connected and will start using financial services based on DeFi. Now, how it helps in financial inclusion, that a code really does not distinguish whether you are a millionaire versus you are someone living in a village. A code really cannot distinguish that. Right now, what is happening? All of these financial institutions, they have no incentive to serve people who are living in one corner of the country, right? From a you can very well access all of these services, even if you are earning 100 rupees a day versus 100 earning lakhs a day, right? So this is basically what the power is, and definitely it will add a lot of value in terms of financial inclusion and the overall growth of the economy.
And you mentioned, how some of these use cases are going to emerge in the next few years. I mean, I got some numbers that today there are some 6,000 plus crypto assets in the world, and many of them billion-dollar plus valuations. And popularly everybody knows about a few of them, but it seems like India itself, I was really stumped as the second largest cryptocurrency ownership in the world. Is that correct? And can you explain that phenomena?
Sure. So, in terms of giving the numbers, right, Akshay, there's a lot of confusion also in the media about the number of people who are exposed to crypto. Some people call it 100 million, or rather 10 crores, but our estimates suggest that the number of people who are somewhere exposed to crypto as an asset class should be in the range of 15 million to 20 million people, right? So that is basically more realistic, and even if with that numbers, India is one of the fastest growing nations to adopt crypto. And I'll tell you why that is happening, right? A lot of the people, so crypto is a pure technological play, right? And a lot of the people, young millennial Gen Z generation, they sort of find it very exciting. A lot of these people consume content digitally every day about crypto, right? A lot of these people, influencers, so are talking about crypto because they are also reading about it, not just for investment, but also for NFTs, also for how much changes happening globally, right? What are the developments happening? Let's say if Square starts something, all of that is now like information spreads rapidly in today's world, right? So whatever, and in crypto is every day there's so much happening globally that people are seeing all of that, and because of that, a lot of people have started reading about it, realizing what is the potential of this technology in the future, and that is what is resulting in India driving towards it. Some of it is investment, some of it is also looking at it from a long-term futuristic technology where they also want to be a part. I think India has a big role to play if you look at it, this space, right? As I mentioned, it's pure technological game, and when it's a technological game, especially in crypto, you just need two things. One is you need internet, and second is you need people who understand the technology. And if you combine these two, you will start churning so many use cases, right? You will start creating so many companies which are not just going to serve India but globally, because crypto, again, like it's completely it doesn't whether it is India or US or Africa, right? For them the technology is the same. So I what I believe is India has all the right ingredients in place to become the leader in this space. And at India is already like very high penetration of internet. Now you just need to build a pro regulatory, conducive environment, and this technology pool which is waiting on the sidelines, waiting to contribute into the space, will just merge, and India will start. Not just like right now we would have a handful of companies which are billion-dollar companies coming from this can even cross 100 in the next few years. And these companies, right, will not just start solving problems for Indian customers, but solving problems for the globe, right? India will become the net exporter of technology, which will create massive investment, and India can become the flag bearer for the entire crypto economy, because the world out there is looking at India, because they know India has the talent pool, India has the capital, India has the right infrastructure. What is missing is the regulations. So the moment you solve for that, then India will become the de facto hub to innovate in this country. And I think it can, if you regulate the sector, right, it will enable orderly growth of the industry, right? And once you regulate, that is when you'll start seeing innovation, right? Of course there will be certain outliers who will take risk, who will venture out in this space, and will create unicorns out of this. But if you want to make it scalable, a engine which will constantly create more and more companies, billion-dollar companies, regulation is the key. So regulation will promote innovation, and if you have innovation, if you then people will also have confidence in the asset class. People will be more confident to get into it, build companies, teach other people about it. You're just going to create an ecosystem
which is going to be a positive loop, and that is how you will see that happening. So use cases are immense. It is a matter of innovation. And India as a country, if you ask me, across all the countries, India is the country which has the potential to do innovation in the sector, purely because of the massive talent pool that is available with India. If we don't leverage it, these talent pool will start contributing and working for global corporations, which they know that crypto has a potential. And India should not miss out on that. India should continue to retain the talent and then promote a ecosystem where these companies are getting built within the country. That's what I feel about it.
Sumit, your enthusiasm is much more excitable than some of the graphs also that we see about this online, because yours, it's really endearing, it's promising. And actually, perhaps you may be one of the few entrepreneurs or founders who are actually seeking out regulation, saying that maybe it's time to do for any industry, not just for crypto. Typically, the it seems in public perception that the impulsive response to innovation is to say to leave to stay away from regulatory controls. So perhaps you can give us some approaches in your mind uh, on how what kind of regulation you think would be best, or what kind of approaches to regulations you think would be best for a country like India.
Sure, Akshay. I think the approach to regulation is very important to highlight, right? Because one thing that we need to understand is that the industry is very rapidly evolving, right? We 3 years back, nobody knew about decentralized finance or NFTs, and now we have it like NFT, DeFi is such a big phenomena, and then people have started reading about it, and we don't know what will happen 3 years down the line. So and then especially given the rate at which the world is moving, it's very difficult to predict what will happen 10 years down the line. So the approach to regulations, what I feel, has to be very fluid, right? First, solve the concerns of the regulators or whatever. See, every industry, right? If you look at the early days of crypto, right, there were various issues, right, ranging from scams or fraudulent projects, right? People used to create their own tokens and just let it out in the market. But now things are fundamentally different. Now people understand it. Now exchanges are also very sophisticated, matured, and they list only quality projects, right? It is a legitimate asset class, which is a part of various, not just retail investors but also institutions. I know various institutions, multi-billion-dollar funds who have taken exposure in crypto. Now when they're having a billion-dollar fund, they have all the resources that they need to study or do due diligence on the project, right? If they are investing in it, right, then it should be very well talked about or exposed to other people as well. Of course, with any industry there are always bad actors that are looking to make the profits out of the growing popularity of crypto, and that is where regulations are important. I'm a strong proponent of regulations because crypto also has some of the things which should be stopped, right? And how that can be done, and we as a industry player have very stringent AML KYC checks, and we have a very stringent verification process for every customer that onboards on the platform, and all of that data is available with us, so that if tomorrow government asks us or if they need any information, we are more than happy to provide. Nobody has told us, right, to do collect that. It is a self-regulation sort of a mechanism which has worked globally, and as policymakers also start understanding about this space, you sort of evolve it from there. And the way to do it is, which I strongly believe, is that the industry should work very closely with the government and policymakers, right? And set up strict guidelines, compliances, rules, and regulations, so that all of these bad actors are cut off from the system, and there is no liquidity available there. All of that liquidity is available and considered only to legitimate players. Exchanges should be recognized. Exchanges, work closely with the government, and whatever the apprehensions are, right? Exchanges have, like, for example, if government asks us some information, some questions, we have answers to that, but the dialogue has to be there. The dialogue of industry as well as the regulators, they should work in coherence to create a positive environment, positive framework, so that the ecosystem does not miss out on any potential innovation, right? We are on the ground looking at it, what's happening in India, globally, right? So that continuous dialogue should be there. I think that is the fundamental level layer, right? That should be there. Now when you have that in place, then you can't solve all the 10 problems at once of this space, right? You have to attack problems one by one. Let's say if it is a problem of money going out in the country, that can be very well resolved. Crypto is transparent. There are tools that are built in place. You just adopt those tools in the system and you'll have a full trace of how the money is moving, right? That is one part. If the question is, okay, how do we protect the retail investors, which is very, very important to the industry, then there are set guidelines that you can put in place at the exchange level, at the industry level, and can be very well reinforced. So the point I'm trying to make is all of the problems that are there, right? We should look at the positive side, like how can we take the positives and try to eliminate the bad sides of it. And it is not a very difficult problem. If you look at progressive nations across the globe, they have adopted it. They are looking at crypto more positively, more favorably, and in fact what they are trying to do is they are trying to make their nation as a crypto friendly hub. Why that is important? Because with that they will be able to attract the talent. Tomorrow, people who are shifting from India and setting up their base in US or other countries where crypto is more there is progressive regulations around crypto, that is the approach they are having, which is going to attract a lot of investor capital also. But I think India, we should have those things in place. And the way to begin that is by having a proactive communication happening with the industry and the policymakers, and that will resolve 80. That is the core 80% of solving all these problems. So identifying solution is not difficult. It is just
And you
basically
think that is happening, Shumit?
it has started happening. We have been invited to the parliamentary standing committee discussion. That was the first time there was a discussion that happened with the industry. I think we need to do more of that. One discussion is not sufficient. It's a complex topic. People are reading about it. I'm also reading about it on a daily basis, right? Everyone is reading about it. Nobody knows 100% of it. So it's basically a constant dialogue that needs to happen. We have started that, but I think it needs to be more proactive than reactive.
Okay. And Shumit, there are obviously more concerns. You mentioned AML. Because it is probably the digital domain, there seems to be more concerns regarding its misuse by online actors, which are typically different than the actors that we saw in the physical world. Intentions probably are as maybe the same as they've always been for those who want to misuse it, but probably the channels, the medium, the actors are different. Their ability to probably create disinformation and mistrust is probably higher, and they could not even be in India, because when you're doing digitally, probably there's some risk there. So perhaps you can talk a little bit more about how we should be thinking about that kind of misuse, and how your company, but this industry as a whole, can approach that. You mentioned a few things, you maintaining information, etc. How should we approach that and build trust, not just with the government but also with the investors, and particularly many of them retail investors, as you mentioned?
Sure. So as I mentioned, Akshay, right, in all the industries there are always bad actors, right? But that does not mean that you just put a blanket curve on the industry growth, right? And these are not very difficult problems to solve, if you ask me, right? In fact, it is easier to solve in a blockchain world, because a lot of the data is available. Can you possibly track what is happening? They are anyway, doing bad things, right? If it is happening in the physical cash world, can you really trace it? No, we can't, right? How the funds are moving, we can't really trace it. But in a blockchain world, right, it is very much traceable. It is very much traceable right from the origin to the destination. Origin, you are having KYC layers, right? So you know the identity of the individuals, and how it is flowing in a blockchain, on chain, can be very well traced, right? Now, how are you leveraging it? How are you working with the industry players to make the best use of it is very important, right? For example, we have the data of all the customers that are investing, right? You can very well tap on the data and access, okay, who are the people who are doing these things, right? And then just put a blanket ban on those people, and create an ecosystem where there's no incentive for people to use crypto in bad means. In fact, if you look at some of the stories in the past, there were hacks happened, and because it was crypto, right, because they could trace the movement of funds, they were able to attack or catch the hackers, right, which otherwise seems to be very difficult. And if you look at it again from a data perspective, the kind of bad activities that happens via crypto, earlier that fraction was very high. If you talk about it like 6 years down, before, or 7 years before, right? But now it is declining over time, because people have started identifying that this is a difficult asset class to leverage, because of the traceability mechanism, right? And there are various tools in place which are making it more and more difficult for making their life more difficult to leverage it. So, and if you look at the percentage, it is much a smaller fraction of it than what it happens in the traditional world, right? These bad activities, it can be reduced even further. You just cut down the liquidity from those channels and make it illegal, right? Anyone who does this is not allowed in the country. It is offense, right? And then government can penalize those activities. Simple things which are limited to investing or which government is comfortable, they can be allowed. So that is how that can be regulated, right? Even in internet, there were various things. People are not allowed to do certain things that can be very well applied to crypto as well.
And then, Shumit, maybe we'll end this conversation with your final thoughts on the financial and investment value for users or investors, whether retail, institutional. I read somewhere that I think 75% of your users are uh, between the age of 20 to 35 years old. Uh, but generally, just to end with this and get your thoughts on the financial value of using crypto as an investment. And why do you think that there is this lure of crypto as a financial asset? What is driving that? What are some of the considerations for those who want to invest in this asset, and how you think it's going to play out in the next in the near to medium term?
Sure. See, actually, I'm a strong proponent of educating people, right? When it comes to investing, I've personally lived that journey 5 years, 6 years back. I was new to crypto. People have told me to invest in Bitcoin when I was in Japan, and I did not invest. One of the biggest regrets I have. But I think the real the real change happened when I started reading about it, right? And starting from the Bitcoin white paper to seeing hundreds of videos on YouTube, having like discussed with my friends for thousands of hours about, okay, how money is created. Why do we value this paper which has 1,000 written on top of it or 500 written on top of it? Why do we value diamonds? Why do we value gold? Right? All of those are very fundamental questions. I think the real return you will get not just by investing in money, like that is just a financial return, but the real return you'll get by understanding what is happening globally, right? When it comes to the technology, right? And a lot of people are investing in crypto, right? And without understanding what it is, which is not a great thing, right? I think what we have been continuously doing as one of the players is we've been very active in terms of fostering greater understanding about crypto and the blockchain technology and why education is important. We have a full-fledged learning platform called DCX Learn, where there are courses for anyone to understand what Bitcoin is, what blockchain is, what decentralized applications, all of that people can read, right? It's available. I think people should also start reading about it. Of course, in terms of investment, people are investing, and then most likely they will make profits, right? But without understanding the subject, right, making profits is temporary. But I think what I strongly believe in is and then this is something that CoinDCX along with the industry player should do is, and then we are doing that to a larger extent, is basically continuously education and information sharing about the whole asset class to the retail investors. You will see a lot more initiatives coming into this. We have seminars, webinars, just like this session. Also, we have done hundreds of sessions like this on YouTube, Instagram, where people can look at the investing part later on. But the first important thing is to understand and do not put a lot of capital. They should also understand the risks associated with it, and that all of that can be tackled or handled by the right amount of crypto awareness and education. I think that is the key, and I've been saying it from a long time. And I will continuously push more as much as possible from my side so that people rise beyond just investing and look at it like the revolutionary shift that is happening in the world of crypto and blockchain.
Thank you, Shamit. And besides leading CoinDCX, you're also, I understand, leading the industry body for the Blockchain and Crypto Council, which so you have, in some ways, a dual responsibility and two platforms really to be able to bring that change. Financial literacy is what we used to call it. Crypto literacies, I suppose, is what is required. And I think. For all issues that are related to policy, global or local, finance or technology, I think that is one of the things we want to continue to examine here at Colaba conversation as we go forward. And we've had another panel here on understanding crypto, which has spoken about the details. We're very happy to have you here for this conversation, and can only thank you here now for your time and for joining us this year, Sumit, for this conversation. And hope that this, as I mentioned, a lot of students, not just policymakers and experts, a lot of young professionals and students and young entrepreneurs are usually watching this. So we hope that it's been of some value to them. So with that, let me just bring this to a close, and all that's left for me to do is thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Enjoyed the conversation.